March 2011. The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant stood as a silent, gleaming titan of modern energy. It was more than just a facility. It was a symbol of Japan's post-war recovery and its total mastery over the atom. Providing electricity to millions in Tokyo, it was the unseen heartbeat of the region. Of nearby towns like Nami and Futaba, life followed a peaceful, coastal rhythm. Fishermen brought in their daily catch under the shadow of the cooling towers, and the sea was seen as a source of bounty, not a threat. Safety was treated as a mathematical certainty, backed by decades of operation without a single major incident. But far beneath the calm Pacific, tectonic plates were under immense, silent pressure, stretching to their breaking point. Friday, March 11th. A quiet, routine afternoon was about to turn into a historical nightmare. At exactly 2:46 p.m., the Earth finally broke. A magnitude 9.0 earthquake, the most powerful ever recorded in Japan's history, shook the coast for 6 agonizing minutes. Inside the plant, the floors became a moving sea. Ceiling tiles shattered, and heavy monitors swayed with terrifying violence. The reactors automatically shut down as designed, but the quake severed the plant from the external power grid. Massive emergency diesel generators roared to life in the dark basements, providing a brief, flickering moment of hope. But the earthquake was only the beginning. As the shaking stopped, the ocean pulled back with an eerie hiss, exposing the dark, jagged seafloor. A colossal wall of water, 15 meters high, was racing toward the shore at the speed of a jet engine. It was double the height the engineers had ever calculated for in their wildest scenarios. At 3:37 p.m., the sea reclaimed the land. Millions of tons of debris-filled water smashed over the seawall, engulfing the entire facility in a black, salty tide. The generators, located in the low-lying basements, were instantly submerged. One by one, the engines choked and died. Without power to the cooling pumps, the water inside the reactors began to boil away, exposing the radioactive fuel rods to the open air. The plant was now a dark, flooded island in a ruined, mud-covered landscape. Inside the lightless control room, engineers worked by the dim beam of flashlights, watching helplessly as analog pressure gauges climbed steadily into the red danger zones. They knew the fuel rods were already melting. Intense heat triggered a violent chemical reaction, producing a silent, invisible threat: hydrogen gas. On Saturday, the world watched in horror as a massive hydrogen explosion ripped through the upper floors of Unit 1, sending concrete panels flying like paper. The blast destroyed the very equipment needed to save the core. Radiation levels began to spike, turning every rescue task into a lethal, invisible risk. Then came a second, even more powerful explosion at Unit 3, sending a dark, ominous mushroom cloud into the winter sky. The government considered the unthinkable: a total evacuation of the Tokyo metropolitan area. Amidst the chaos, a small group of volunteers, later known as the Fukushima 50, made the choice to stay behind. They moved through dark, radioactive corridors, knowing each minute could be their last. They were the only line of defense against a total continental catastrophe that would have changed Japan forever. Outside the gates, a different tragedy was unfolding in the fog. A 20-kilometer exclusion zone was established, forcing 150,000 people to leave their entire lives behind in a matter of hours. Families were packed into crowded, cold gymnasiums, separated from their homes, their pets, and their family history. In those silent, abandoned towns, childhoods were frozen in time. The atom, once a provider of light, had become a ghost, and the land was now a forbidden territory, guarded only by the wind and the persistent ticking of Geiger counters. As the reactors were finally stabilized with seawater, a new storm began. A storm of public anger and global inquiry. The world demanded to know how this could happen in a nation known for its technological precision. The official investigation eventually revealed a chilling, uncomfortable truth. It wasn't just a natural disaster. It was a systemic organizational failure. TEPCO had been warned about the risk of a high tsunami years earlier, but those warnings were buried deep in corporate bureaucracy. The safety myth had blinded the regulators, creating a culture where questioning the plant's design was seen as a sign of disloyalty. The National Diet of Japan officially declared it a man-made disaster. The cost of this negligence was now written permanently in the contaminated soil. Then began the most complex and expensive cleanup in human history. Millions of large black bags filled with radioactive soil began to stack up in the fields, forming a dark, geometric monument to the failure. Every road, every roof, and every school playground had to be scrubbed by hand, inch by inch. To stop the radiation from reaching the groundwater and the ocean, engineers built a massive ice wall deep beneath the earth, a frozen barrier of pipes intended to isolate the ruins from the environment. Thousands of giant silver tanks rose like a metallic forest to hold the radioactive cooling water, each one a ticking clock of environmental management. Robots were designed and sent into the high radiation zones where no human could survive for more than a few minutes. These machines captured the first grainy, distorted images of the corium, the lava-like melted fuel that had burned through the reactor floors. For thousands of workers, the cleanup became a grueling daily battle, a slow and dangerous dance with an enemy they could not see, touch, or smell. Decommissioning would take another 40 years, a half-century commitment to fixing the tragic mistakes of a single fateful day. Years passed, and the heavy silence of the exclusion zone was slowly broken by the sound of reconstruction. In 2017, some towns were finally reopened, but the homecoming was bitter and lonely. Many residents, now elderly and frail, came back to find their houses overgrown with wild vines and reclaimed by forest animals. The young generation had built new lives elsewhere, leaving behind a demographic void that may never be filled. Rebuilding the Fukushima brand became a long war against social stigma, as local farmers struggled to prove that their crops were safe to eat. Today, the initial sharp fear has been replaced by a quiet, constant state of vigilance. The region is reinventing its identity, transforming contaminated fields into massive solar farms and experimental hydrogen research centers. Resilience is not about forgetting the trauma. It is about building a future that truly respects the overwhelming power of nature. The world watched Fukushima and learned a hard, global lesson: that the word unforeseen is never an excuse for being unprepared. Global safety standards for nuclear energy were rewritten in blood, forcing every nation to look at their own shorelines with new, humbler eyes. We learned that our mastery over nature is often an illusion. We must design our technology for the ocean that actually exists in nature, not the one we imagine in our mathematical models. Today, the cherry blossoms still bloom every spring in Fukushima, and the miracle pine stands as a lone, brave survivor on the coast. Life persists, even in the long shadow of a nuclear meltdown. When the sea surpassed our calculations, it forced us to rethink our entire relationship with the planet and our own complex creations. As we look at the rebuilt coast today, we are reminded of both our fragility and our incredible strength. May we never forget the lessons of the day the water rose, and may we forever honor those who stayed to fight the darkness when the world was watching.